let's take a look at the elephant assignment. So here, looking at the legs itself, we can see that for the first pose, based on the screen capture, you can actually push the back legs a little bit more, especially the one that is now vertically straight, which is the elephant's back left leg. And once we push that a little bit behind, we have to make sure that the other leg on the right side is actually pushed as well. So the other thing that we want to do is that we want to actually try to mimic the running feeling of the back legs of the elephant. As mentioned before, because of the proportion difference between the reference and the character rig, we just need to make sure that the feeling is captured. Right now, playing the animation of what you have in the Play Blast, it still feels like he's walking. I know it can be a bit challenging, but what we can do is try to push that back leg a little bit more to actually sell that running feeling in the elephant. And the next thing that we want to see is that on this pose itself, as the elephant moves its right front leg in front, we want to check the spacing of the legs itself to make sure that now it's traveling at the correct amount of distance. So what you can see here right now, it feels like your right front leg is not traveling enough. So what you can do is actually push it a little bit back so that in comparison to the next pose, the distance travel will be sufficient. And here, as the elephant raises its left front leg, we also want to check in terms of the angle of the legs from the previous pose to the next pose, so that there is actually some change in the angle. So right now it feels like both the poses actually in the same kind of orientation, so just check on the rotation itself. So towards the end of the leg posing, you can see that actually it's pretty much similar to what is happening just now in the front, whereby I was explaining some of the poses. We can actually push the back leg a bit more, and the front leg we can actually push it back a little bit more to improve the spacing between poses. So coming to the tail of the elephant, overall we need to just push a bit in terms of the shape change from one pose to another pose. So here on your first pose, as it goes into the second pose, we can do a little bit of change in shape, whereby it goes from that slight S curve to actually a C curve, as you can see in the drawings. So as it hits to the third pose, we can actually have a little bit more of the toned down C pose, as we can get from the second pose itself. So just doing a little bit of tweak there, and so that we can actually achieve a nicer flow in the tail motion. And here itself, as the tail moves up, check your spacing as it's a little bit too big. So it feels like the tail actually pops up too quickly. So by softening that a little bit, you can actually get a better control of the tail animation. And towards the end of the tail animation itself, we apply the same principle of having that C shape so that it actually flows nicely back to the first pose of your tail. For the elephant's ears, here on the first pose to the second pose, you can see from the reference the travel distance is actually quite a bit. So looking at your play blast, it feels like the travel distance for the ears is actually not enough. So we can actually rotate it a little bit more to the front. So on your third pose of the elephant's ears, from the second pose, it feels like the ears are actually going up too quickly. So in this case, we actually can reduce the amount of rotation of the ears going up. And here, where the ears are actually turning back, we can actually push back some of the ear rotation a bit more, because right now it feels like, based on the reference, it's actually traveling a lot more when it's actually rotating back. And at this part here, the ear seems to be drooping down a little bit too much, so what we can do is actually just rotate the base of the ear up a little bit more.